The voice of sharing. 突然那想
Hey,
Hello.
we say hi. Hey, Gowri, how are you?
I'm very good this morning. How are you, Arlene?
Oh, I'm fine as usual. As long as I have my morning coffee, that is for sure.
That's right. How was your weekend? Oh, I guess I didn't see you yesterday.
Yeah, I
so-
did. How was your eye?
Yeah, I was down with a red eye infection, and it's better today, but I've been barred from wearing my contacts,
I
which
see.
sucks, and I'm wearing my glasses today. It's glasses
Gowri,
day.
I just want to let you know you look hot in glasses.
Thank you very much, Arlene. So do you. So what do we have for our news commentary today?
Oh, we have a bunch of exciting news, but we want to start off with something that is a bit, I would say, pornish.
A bit controversial or a bit 18SX?
It's actually for a good cause. It's about a story in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
So a group of porn actresses, they sort of think they sort of like get together and start to think of, hey, we should do something about about the world. We should have the world. And guess what they came up for?
I believe the event is called Boob Aid.
That is very genius of porn actresses from
And
Japan.
it seems that people can just go up to them and start squeezing their boobs for a good cause, of course, for charity. I can't stop laughing.
Well, this group of, I guess they are called porn queens. They are a bunch of Japanese porn actresses, and they are prepared to be squeezed, to have their boobs or their breasts to be squeezed by fans for 24 hours this weekend for a charity event, loosely as translated as what you mentioned, Boob Aid.
And it comes after a sexist heckling of a Tokyo assemblywoman hit the headlines, highlighting old-fashioned views towards women that still permeate Japanese society. And they also said that, I never thought that my boobs could contribute to society. This was said by Serena, who is apparently unaware of any contradiction.
I want to ask you a question, Gowri.
Yes.
Will you let your boobs to be squeezed for a good cause?
Maybe it is a possibility, yes.
I hope that it happened in Malaysia. Well, the funny thing is, the funny thing is they could come up with this idea, and it seems like it is something that is acceptable in Japan. I really applaud. I really applaud all of these people for coming up with this idea.
It is great. It's a very different way, a different approach to charity, which we don't usually hear of, which is why this news made all the headlines today. But it's a very interesting way of thinking of how to give to charity in that sense. And I think it is a very creative way. And I believe that one of the porn star even said, "I hope people will be gentle and don't take advantage of this," which is a fair request considering that she's actually putting
We should
herself
ask
out
a guy
there.
what do they think about
That's
squeezing
right.
boobs
We don't have a
for
guy
charity.
DJ in here.
That's the thing.
He'll probably be really excited right now.
The next story, which is also a bit controversial, but it didn't end up that well. It's about the story in Ipoh. A semi-nude couple wedding shoot shocked the bystanders there and became like a national headline news.
So the Facebook users especially were stunned today by what appeared to be wedding photographs of a semi-naked couples walking along Jalan Sultan Yusuf. And these pictures were posted on Facebook. But the thing is, the guy was actually wearing his bow tie and black pants, and the girl was wearing a very scantily clad bikini. But they actually used the word bogel when they were reporting the news, which is like completely nude. And I guess that's kind of twisting the story.
At first, I thought it was completely nude. Then I was looking at the photos. It seems like it was just another photo shoot for probably a wedding magazine. But it draws a lot of criticism. What I see from Facebook, especially when it comes to my friends' comments and people that I know that commented, is either they are okay with it, meaning they're very liberal with the idea of semi-nude in the middle of the public, or in the middle of the street. Or another opinion is why you want to create another mess or another problem, within this conservative society.
Especially after what happened in Penang. They said, first we have these nude people running around in beaches in Penang. Now we have nude people taking photographs. But according to this couple here, they said they totally leave it up to their photographer to come up with the concept for the whole thing. And he was just trying to be creative. He was just coming up with a different approach again, instead of doing the conventional photo shoot. He said, you guys, why don't we try something else? Why don't we try to do it this way? But that, of course, also became a very controversial news over the weekend. I guess people in Malaysia are still not ready for this kind of high concept photo shoot.
Do you think it's high concept?
Maybe in Malaysian context.
It's funny because if you look through history, I remember I've been to the museum in Sarawak, and I see a lot of semi-nude or completely nude aborigines. Apparently, in the past, we have no problem about nudity. It's part of life. It's part of the lifestyle that we have lived before. But once we live in this modern society, we totally forgotten that nudity is not a huge deal. It's not a big deal. In fact, in today's society, that it is such a big deal that the Perak Police Chief Dato Akril Sani Abdullah Sani said that the case is being investigated under the Section 14 of the Minor Offences Act 1955. That's a huge one.
It is, and with the civilization and all, like you mentioned, back then it wasn't a problem, but when we get so involved into being civilized people and we set all these cultural standards that you have to be dressed this way and that way, and this is culturally right, this is morally right, and you have so many different rules now. I think back then people were more laid back, there were much rules. You can be nude, like I think when you think of our grandmothers, they just wear like the sarong halfway and it's not a big deal.
I still remember back then when my grandparents and I see other people's grandparents just wear their sarong up until above their chest, and it was no problem at that time. What do you think, listeners? Do you think it's a huge deal for people to dress with a bikini and underwear?
That's right. Let us know on our Facebook page. We'd love to know what you think about this.
Do you think that people should mind what they wear, or people shouldn't mind? I guess it is based on opinion of people in a way. So the next news, which is also another interesting news, apparently one university is providing a course.
Actually, it's Open University.
Yeah. It's for prisoner.
Yes, and they have actually added, it became the first university to offer tertiary education for prisoners. And they have 33 inmates from the Kajang prison and Kota Kinabalu prison who enrolled in the courses since 2008 as part of the prison department's Human Development Program initiative, done with support of the Friend of Prison Club.
And it seems like the OUM Pro-Chancellor Tan Sri Azman Hashim said that academic development is important to recreate valuable human resources, especially among young inmates. Hence, he further added that this is the first of such program in the country. I am sure more prisoners will take up the offer to pursue their tertiary education.
This is something that we rarely think about, these people in the prison. Are they, what happens if they're halfway through college? What happens once they go to prison? Do they get to study? Do they get to do something in there? And it's a great thing that they're actually offering university courses for these inmates to actually study while they're being served, because some of them serve for really long terms. It can go up to 10 years, 15 years. And instead of just
wasting time in the prison doing nothing,
so
at least you gain certain knowledge.
Yeah.
For example, this person called Karim, he's 28 years old, of Kajang prison, said he was happy to have received his bachelor degree in business management.
And I guess it prepares them for when they finally finish serving their term, when they come out, they're fully prepared to get a job. They can they have something to put on their resume instead of just being stuck in prison. But I guess once you come out of prison, of course it's not the same anymore, but at least when you are equipped with all this different knowledge, it it serves a purpose, and it really helps them to move forward from where they left off.
What I see is this. There seems to be a certain kind of demonization of prisoner or people who go to the prison, like they are hopeless in society. We shouldn't give them opportunities. But I applaud the chancellor of this university for providing such courses.
And I think it's like what you always tell me, it's going back to the grassroots level to educate people no matter what background they come from. It's not just about a temporary solution. They're actually doing something solid, something substantial. They are educating everyone in general, so everyone has the equal opportunity to come up in life.
I hope that they are moving forward towards very progressive prisons like those in Scandinavia. I still remember I watched one documentary. Their prison is like a summer retreat. It's virtually a summer retreat because people from all over the area will come there during the weekends for a retreat, and the people that will serve them or will be there to somehow make sure that the environment there is well maintained are the prisoners themselves. And the prisoners themselves are being given a lot of different tasks. They are being educated and all that. They don't have negative connotation towards prisoners, and that is what makes those prisoners change very fast to a better person. And this is also, I guess, being seen by what the pro-chancellor has been spoken about.
And there was another news I read. It was something similar, except that it was a bit more extreme, where they had to close down prisons. I cannot remember where. I think it was in Netherlands, but they had to actually close down the prisons because
they have to stop their prison from inmates from other country.
Right, because they just don't have enough criminals in their country to accommodate
How
this
awesome
place.
Is that?
Well, I guess we still have a long way to go, but ideally that will be our long-term target, and hopefully we get there soon enough, and that'll be something that we can really be proud of.
Talking about the Open University, just one information I want to share is the Prison Department Inmates Management Director, Commissioner Jamaluddin Said, said that the program was an extension for the 3M program, reading, writing, calculating, in the prison's integrity school, as it provides a chance for the inmate to sit for the SPM and STPM. I still remember the 3M program back in primary school. I don't know about you.
I don't think we had that.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you are a bit older than me. Just a bit. Yeah, tell us about this 3M program.
During primary school, the 3M program during Mahathir's time was one of the most popular program in order for schools to assess their students to ensure that they are good in reading, writing, and calculating. And from what I see in this news is they are ensuring that just because you are a prisoner doesn't mean that you are going to lose your life skill. You still need to learn all these basic skills of reading, writing, and calculating. This is a very good move, and somehow that they are giving a chance for them to sit for SPM and STPM. This is also a very positive move.
Yes, and we hope other universities will probably also follow suit and help out OUM in reaching out to more inmates to improve their quality of life.
Another event that happened in Myanmar is the ASEAN economic meeting.
The annual meeting of economic ministers from the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, which is ASEAN, has opened in Myanmar with a focus on regional free trade zone talks. And speaking of the opening of the meeting Monday in Naypyidaw, President Thein Sein has expressed hope that Myanmar, also known as Burma, will benefit from this ASEAN regional integration.
Seems like the talks on Monday focuses on easing the regional taxes and tariff and the establishment of regulation for trade ahead of next year's planned start of the ASEAN Economic Community. This was reported by the Voice of America News.
And he also said that we are aiming at local businesses and the public to know more about the regulations among ASEAN nations, and we're preparing to yield profits from an ASEAN free trade zone, said Yi Tut. And the tourism and the industry itself can receive direct profit and can also earn benefits from exposure and networking with international partners. All these benefits can advance our economy. So it seems that Myanmar is heading for an economic change here, an economic boost.
They are the chairman for this year's ASEAN summit, and for them to open the ASEAN economic meetings and to chair them is definitely a one step ahead for Myanmar's development in terms of opening up, liberalizing the economy, as well as, I hope, politically as well. But at the same time, it also focuses on the ASEAN regional matters. In this case, it will be economic free trade zone. I'm curious to know about how the free trade zone will actually benefit individual countries, especially if we are talking about our own country, Malaysia. There have been very little news about the free trade zone, ASEAN free trade zone, in terms of how Malaysia can garner reward or benefits on it, and how it will affect the movement of resources, especially human resources, considering that a lot of the people in Southeast Asia, they need jobs. They considering also that Southeast Asia has one of the biggest population with, I think more than, it's like probably the third largest.
Yeah, that's right.
Population.
But I'm also wondering, you probably know better about this, because the main source of economy, as I know from Myanmar, is agriculture. So when they say they are opening up probably more possibilities and all, in what direction are they heading?
That's a great question. There's this word called sustainable development, but when it comes to the region of Southeast Asia, it's a very vague term. When you talk about sustainable development, you're also considering the forests, the natural resources, the local communities. But if you are developing at a very rapid rate in order for you to catch up with other countries and building physical buildings and preparing all this different infrastructure, but disregarding the original or the resources that you have at hand in the population, it can lead to a situation where you have a dysfunctional city, a city that is huge and bustling, but at the same time, it is inefficient. And you can see that in cities like Jakarta, even to some extent Kuala Lumpur, where you have huge traffic jam, pollution.
With the floods as well.
Yeah, the floods as well. So when we talk about development, it has to be a very careful understanding of development.
But they're also receiving aid from Japan, is that right?
When it comes to aid, one of the biggest aid donors is Japan. And I still remember during the Cyclone Nargis in Myanmar, I was there. What I overheard is one of the biggest donor was Japan. And it's quite interesting how Japan focuses its resources, since it doesn't really contribute a lot of resources towards military expenditure. So a lot of the resources are being channeled towards aid.
I guess we're all excited to see where Myanmar is going with this.
Exciting. Another exciting but not so good development is in Indonesia. So apparently Indonesia jihadist group is breaking up, but others emerging from its shadow.
And when Southeast Asia's premier spiritual leader Abu Bakar Bashir pledged allegiance last July to the extremist Islamic State, a group so brutal that even Al-Qaeda cut off ties with them. His two sons abandoned him, and Abu Bakr, who is 76 years old, is widely seen as the godfather of Salafi jihadists and wields tremendous influence in the region, including Malaysia.
Including our own country.
That's right. And it seems that our Malaysian police arrested 19 suspected IS followers between April and June this year, who were actually making plans to travel to Syria to join the militant group. and they found links to Abu Bakr from these people who were arrested.
Interesting. So it seems like many of them, the suspect, were influenced by the teaching of Abu Bakr to go to Syria. And Abu Bakr is also a very extreme and influential individual. It was leaked by the senior Malaysian police sources. The other major influence is, of course, Aman Abdul Rahman. A lot of these extremists, they come to countries like Malaysia, Indonesia. The way they recruit people is to sort of channel the idea that the eventual goal of Islam is to have Islamic State. But it is a very political agenda rather than a religious agenda.
It is, especially when you resort to mass genocide, and it's kind of even like ethnic cleansing, if I may use that term, where they're trying to just get rid of everyone with any other ethnicity, and they just want to focus on making it a solely Islamic State. But I think the good thing about this is that a lot of Muslim leaders have come out to criticize ISIS and tell them that this is really not the way how you do it, and you're just giving Islam a bad name worldwide, you know.
The sad part is those who were influenced by the words of Abu Bakr, for example, are those from the middle class, those who are professional. For example, the young Ramin, he's 36 years old, who grew up in Malaysia and is seen by many as a rising star of the jihadist movement in this region. He's tall, intelligent, and articulated. He is also known to be skilled in IT, which he uses to expand his reach. And for Ramin, he spent his formative years in Malaysia, where his father lived in exile between 1985 to 1998 as a fugitive from Indonesian authorities for opposing the secular government of the late President Suharto.
It looks like they target people with some kind of troubled past, someone who has lost someone or lived in a very, what you call, probably not a very good environment, and someone who is disturbed. And they approach these people and tell them, you know, hey, if you join us, we can achieve this together, and it will definitely provide you with a better future. And of course, these people, like Rohim, for example, his father was in exile, and of course, if someone goes up to him and say, hey, you know, join me, and your life won't be the same anymore, I promise you it will get better after this, I'm pretty sure he's gonna join them without thinking twice. And I think there should be more awareness on the real agenda of ISIS and what they are really pursuing.
Another research that was being leaked, it was research by an intelligence, is a report that show that when you talk about those who claim themselves as jihadis, they seem to be the ones that have very little or lack understanding of Islam. And the conclusion of the report also state that when you talk about jihadist movement around the world, for example, the one by ISIS, is definitely a political agenda. It has never been a religious agenda, because whatever religious agenda that's supposed to be upheld by this jihadist group is against the original teaching, which is about compassion, about love, and it's about respecting different faiths. Another development that is happening, which I personally feel that I'm so glad that Vietnam is making this move. Vietnam is actually sending envoy to China to smooth tensions, which is a positive development for the South China Sea conflict.
Yes, they are sending a senior Communist Party official to China this week to try and rebuild relations that was badly hit by Beijing's decision to deploy an oil rig in the waters claimed by Hanoi in Monday. And the movement of the oil rig by China triggered a furious reaction in Hanoi and led to speculations the secretive government might be reconsidering its relationship with Beijing, and perhaps even favoring a tilt to the United States as other Southeast Asian nations locked in territorial disputes with China.
It is really, really amazing that Vietnam, instead of aligning themselves with the US, is personally having a bilateral diplomatic mission towards China. And this is something that is, I would say, it is positive because you do not want to align with another superpower just to counter another superpower. You should be either neutral, or you should smooth the tension personally, between individual countries. It shouldn't be something that would create another World War III.
This is definitely something that is not that difficult to solve. It's not as intricate, as complicated as what's happening in Israel and Palestine, at least the way that I see it. And it's definitely something that we can solve, and especially now that Vietnam is sending over their senior Communist Party official to China to have talks. I think it's definitely heading in the right direction. But if China keeps being stubborn, because according to this news, it also says that China refused to listen to the Vietnamese complaints even after it moved the rig and pulled it out on its own terms. So if they keep being egotistic, being stubborn about it, I guess Vietnam will somehow tilt towards US just to try and intimidate
Unfortunately,
China.
there's also a huge anti-Chinese sentiment in Vietnam. Is very widespread. In fact, the month where I was in Vietnam was the month where they were kidnapping Chinese. They were doing protests in front of Chinese factories in Vietnam at the time I was. Although the place that I was in, which is Hanoi, was relatively peaceful, in terms of the movement, descendants movement, the people of Vietnam is definitely fed up with China. It's very obvious. You can see that. But at the same time, I think we also realize, whether it's Malaysian population or the Vietnamese population, we cannot avoid China.
China is a superpower in this region, and I guess especially in terms of economy, a lot of countries in Southeast Asia, we are kind of dependent on China, and we try to have a good relationship as much as possible. But sometimes you can only take so much.
Or maybe we should listen to the wisdom of Najib. Yesterday, what he said, the principle of Malaysian foreign policy is to be neutral, to be friends with everyone. And I think that's a very good advice.
That is an amazing advice.
Not just in terms of international relations, but also in terms of personal life, individual lives. What do you think, Gowri?
Yeah, I think it works great. It doesn't work in every situation. Maybe sometimes you do have to take a stand, you do have to speak up. But I guess something in terms like this, when it comes to different countries around you, it's probably best to be friends with everybody.
With that, thank you, Gowri, for sharing your thoughts with me.
No problem. I enjoy doing that, and I appreciate everyone listening to us right now on DorianASEAN.com.
Don't forget, as usual, to follow us on Facebook and Twitter. And give your comment. What do you think of our news? With that, bye-bye.
Bye.